Hi guys, we don't need to wait too long for the next Han Feizi, and here she is. On the 22nd of April, an incident occurred on Airasia D7809 flying from Chongqing to Kuala Lumpur. It was past midnight and passengers were looking forward to a bit of shut-eye before arriving in KL in time for breakfast. As it turned out, departure was delayed by almost 2 hours. It wasn't because of technical or weather issues. The flight was, in a way, hijacked by a self-absorbed, entitled and possibly narcissistic Chinese woman. Now, it all started after passengers had boarded the aircraft and a Tama carrying a Gucci bag found out that 3 of her companions were stuck at Chongqing immigration. Not surprisingly, her private chat turned into a cabin announcement. A passenger seated nearby asked her to keep it down, as this was, after all, a red-eye flight. Instead of apologizing, Gucci bag Tama raised her voice, audaciously demanding that the plane should wait for her friends, as they were all paying customers. She also demanded that a passenger who recorded her obnoxious behaviour should delete the video. 2 male cabin attendants approached her and tried to de-escalate the situation. This hit a raw nerve with Gucci bag Tama, as she couldn't understand English. She continued making a ruckus, insisting that the flight attendant must speak to her in Mandarin. The senior flight attendant then asked her to get off the plane. When she refused, he said that he was calling the police. This announcement was greeted with loud cheers from the other passengers.
Are you okay? 你再来继续讲中文，请。叫红吗？我不下。
Presently, a member of the ground staff attended to her, patiently and with great humility, literally stooping to her level. Finally, someone who understood her, and boy did she go on a rampage. She insisted that she didn't do anything wrong. She claimed that she only wanted the passenger who recorded her inconsiderate behavior to delete the recording and apologize to her. Knowing that they were trying to get her off the plane the easy way, she protested and asked for compensation, insisting that she had done nothing wrong even though she was indisputably the sole cause for the flight delay. Now, she went on to lecture the crew, claiming to be a cabin crew member on China's Southern Airlines, something which the airline had refuted. She complained that as an international carrier, AirAsia ought to have staff that can at least speak some Mandarin, and illogically, she tried to justify her anger by saying that they are not fit to run the service because they can't speak Mandarin. Now here comes the most jaw-dropping part. 你今天在飞机上处理不明白，都别飞了。Now, if you can't settle this on the plane today, nobody flies. Was she trying to hijack the plane? Voice wavering, she proudly declared that she is Chinese and belittled non-Chinese cabin attendant on a Malaysian airline for not being able to speak to her language. Now, perfectly obvious to everyone on the plane, but not to her, is the fact that none of this nonsense would have happened if she had apologized for speaking too loudly and put her phone away. But no, she put the blame on one person for recording her and the crew for not understanding and acceding to her demands. And as things dragged on, more and more people started recording her. Delusional or otherwise, she claimed that everyone on the plane could be her witness and she was going to claim compensation for missing her flight. Was anybody on her side? This altercation lasted for more than 1.5 hours, and how did it end? It ended with Mandarin-speaking Chinese police officers asking her to get off the plane. Everyone on the plane was relieved and applauded her departure. In her written confession to the police, she wrote that she was anxious when she was talking on the phone because her companions were stuck at immigration because their documents were not in order. What would you have done in her shoes? Turn your private chat into a public announcement? She could have voluntarily gotten off the plane and joined them back in Chongqing, or just wait for them in KL. But Gucci bag Dama must do what Gucci bag Dama does. In her letter of undertaking, which was full of wrong characters or 错别字, she insisted that the delay was caused by the failure of the crew to speak Mandarin. Now, it could have ended like a statement that is full of excuses, but she only admitted that she shouldn't have spoken too loudly and lost her temper in the last paragraph, which was obviously squeezed in after the police found her statement unsatisfactory. Even then, she claimed that twice her fellow passengers cheered for her heroic feat. How shameless can one get? And if you think that that's the end, then you have underestimated her hatred for reality. Here's the live stream that she put up.
就是我跟你们讲很清楚，那个地服小姐姐，会中文的那个小姐姐，办柜式服务的那个小姐姐，她是报完警之后陪着警察一起过在那里蹲着听我讲话。搞清楚，麻烦你们搞清楚，他不是第一次过来跟我沟通的人。但凡他第一次派一个会中文的人过来跟我沟通，那就没有后续这些事情，明白不？我的脾气都已经爆炸了。他那个时候派一个中国的小姐姐过来跟我柜式服务，你觉得我有没有脾气，大哥？你觉得我是你有没有脾气啊？是你有没有脾气？没有一个人听你讲话，没有一个人那个什么解决你的诉求，然后还在那里拉偏架。你看他们马来西亚人多团结呀！我的天，在那里当网络喷子的都是马来西亚人，你知道吗？你没有发现他们很团结吗？就包括网络上流传出来的很多视频，就后面坐在我背后的那些哥哥姐姐们拍照，在那里起哄，在那里笑，全部都是马来西亚人啊！我们中国人会为中国人发声吗？还说我丢脸丢到国外去了，我就觉得很搞笑。我到底哪里丢脸啊？我做错什么呀？你没有发现是他们自己在拉偏架，然后上升高度，然后明明会英文的情况下跟我标中文，就是歧视我听不懂英文，歧视我们黄种人，你不觉得吗？还在那里上升高度，到底是谁上升高度啊？我就觉得很搞笑啊！你们不要太搞笑了。缓解，然后续集4，我继续讲，然后我被警察带走了，然后警察就让我去录，就是问事情的经过结果，然后我挨着跟他们讲了一遍，讲完之后，警察就问我做错了没，我说我错了，我错就错在我的就是第一次打电话的声音就是偏大，这确实是我做错了，我说但是也是有起因的，也是有海关卡我的原因导致的，对不对？我说但是我也跟那个姐姐道歉了，我说我也不是没跟她道歉，但是她让我就是不要在飞机都没有滑行的情况下不要打电话，那我就很发火呀，那我为什么不发火？然后等我发火了之后，他还拿手机录我，然后又没有人跟我解决我的诉求，那个空少过来了给我标英文，你们到底能不能吃瓜能吃的理性一点，不要看一些视频切片掐头去尾的。我跟你们现在讲得很清楚，我对我说的每一句话负法律责任就可以了。如果我有罪，我今天会在这里继续和你们聊天吗？会和你们唠嗑吗？不会，我早都被警察带走了。我说飞机没有滑行，有很多人可能不信，但是警察是明了的，警察他会调监控，他会去看到底飞机有没有滑行，我到底是不是飞机滑行的过程中打的电话。警察也不是傻子，你觉得我有通天的手段能买断警察吗？不要太搞笑啊你们。然后我就被请去喝茶了，在警察那里写了一个保证书，仅此而已，到此几乎就快结束了。
Not surprisingly, she is unrepentant. I suggest that other airlines take note that given the chance, she'll give a repeat performance. When a phrase like 丢脸丢到国外去 is used yet again, the patriots on Weibo get uncomfortable and come to the defense of Gucci bag Dama. They put the blame on the airline for hiring staff who can't speak Mandarin when they are making money from Chinese people. Do you have to speak every one of the 120 Indian languages if you're making money from Indians? Sure, there was a language issue here, but when that issue was solved, it didn't calm her down, but made her even more expressive, demanding, and unreasonable. I expected some Malaysian Zhonghuajiao to come to her rescue, the Sinophiles, It took quite a while, but they came. Former Malaysian LGBT influencer Bai En, no longer cross-dressing, explained that other passengers should have volunteered their translation services, and the one who secretly filmed the woman's obnoxious behaviour was also in the wrong. Really? I've already explained why it's not a language issue. And the more listening ears that Gucci bag Dama had, the more audacious she would have gotten. Many years ago, I was on a flight in India when I saw passengers wiping their feet with the hot hand towels distributed after the captain welcomed everyone on board. Now, I could have recorded that very interesting behavior, but mobile phones had no cameras back then. Can a flight delay be justified if I had recorded that? Look, there are many other minor offences that people can commit on a flight. The thing is, they don't interfere with the flight. The inconvenience caused to all the passengers on the flight from Chongqing to KL was entirely due to the ruckus created by Auntie Gucci bag. You're just gaslighting if you say someone made you do it. If you ask me, I'd say that she deserved every bit of the attention she got from the Malaysian passengers who videoed her, also without her permission. Bai En should get this straight. No pun intended. Another apologist by the name of Danny made the rather lame statement that Malaysians should respect the country they are visiting and not mock that woman. Does Danny think that it's part of the culture and is acceptable in Chinese society? Then China Southern Airlines and other Chinese people living outside China and are hence free to express their opinions wouldn't have been so quick to distance themselves from her. Now, in another post, Danny called out AirAsia for treating passengers like peasants. But all the other passengers were subjected to the same peasantry treatment. Why didn't everybody react the same way? So perhaps all airlines should make a note of people who support the woman, Gucci bag Dama, and mark them as potential troublemakers because they share the same values. Now, I'm worried that I might be on the same flight as Bai En or Danny Ng, not to mention Angeline or her sister Alice. 你今天在飞机上处理不明白，都别飞了。You guys don't find that appalling? Just 2 days after that, inside Singapore itself, a 26-year-old woman was sentenced to 12 weeks jail on April 24th after she hurled a beer bottle at restaurant staff in Geylang and refused to comply with the police, biting an officer's shoulder. The Chinese national, 26-year-old Gao Xiaotong, transliterated, faced 6 charges including committing rash conduct, using criminal force to deter a public servant from carrying out duties, and overstaying. She pleaded guilty to 3 of the charges, with the remaining taken into consideration during sentencing. I wonder if any of the apologists and Sinophiles will take her seriously if she decides to tell her story, her side of the story, when she gets back to her 祖国. Maybe our police officers used English on her and ignored her declarations of no English and I am China. If they had sent someone who spoke Mandarin or had civic-minded folks like Biden on the streets to help with translation, then none of this would have happened.